Okay, so moving on to our second presenter. I need a big welcome because I am introducing Ryan Mace with the Ocalian Knights.
How's everybody doing today? That's what I like to see. Now I'm going to get this off because it's heavy. I should have it on, yes. Hi everybody, my name is Ryan Mace. I am the executive producer of the show The Ocalian Knights. My partner could not be here today. He ended up in another meeting in Leesburg. So it's just me today. So, what is Ocalian Knights? There's hair in my face. It is a D&D live production show. So we gather around a table and we do collaborative storytelling, where one guy, the DM, in this case, my partner David Lugo, forms a world, and then we, the players, interact in it through rolling dice. A lot of them. Will you give us a taste of what that looks like?
We are currently just escaping from the cold room with Lista in the center. We have just opened the door, and this smell
Don't use jargon. Make sure you say what D&D is, what a DM is.
Yeah.
Excellent. You guys are going to take 11 points of damage. All dead. All right, so instead of hearing this isn't so bad, you see I'm your dad. Dad? Excellent. As you reach your hands out to touch the stone, you are immediately electrocuted. One. Excellent. You are electrocuted. Weapon arcing in your direction, as you are close enough. Had you gone away further, you'd be electrocuted.
I know which one that needs to be removed first. And I reach on my hand and pull it out.
So yes, D&D is, and for any of you who don't know what the acronym means, D&D stands for Dungeons and Dragons, and it's a lot of fun. You typically get a bunch of friends together around a table, and through rolling dice and playing characters, you create a story together that builds bonds and brings a lot of laughter to everybody involved. And it's one of those few things that actually brings people together these days. I mean, I know during the virus there was a bunch of people who couldn't get together in person, but they still managed to get together online just to play this game, because it's one of those things that gets people motivated to interact with each other. For a good example, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for this game, because it was what ended up giving me the confidence to end up starting my business to come and do these things and do the productions that we do here today. That can be the end of it. I feel like there's going to be a lot of questions.
Oh yeah, we're going to work on your closer. That was good though. Very good. Very good. Yes. I'm going to say a couple things. Best entrance ever for one MC. Crowd, very good participation already. That's good. So you've got me pretty excited, and I got ideas racing through my head.
I would hope so.
I used to play this in college. I had a great time. Love using the imagination of all the people around the room. I don't know in the demo reel when she's like, why didn't you stick to the plan or something? Like, you have to rely on your teammates at the same time. can we make this virtual? Like, can I put on an Oculus Quest or go virtual with this and actually be in these lands playing Dungeons and Dragons? Is that invented yet?
So there is actually a program that does do like a virtual tabletop set where you can build the sets and you can move the stuff in it and do all of the math that's required for it. I don't think it's built yet for 3D or virtual reality, but it's definitely something that could happen in the future with enough time.
Hey guys, Josh here, Kingdom Syndicate. I want to give you incredibly mad props for taking some feedback from the local community, from Chris Marshall and from a few guys in here and Chris Cook, and you've taken it, you've run with it, and you've turned it into something. So like incredibly, you're coachable. That's the absolute best thing that an entrepreneur can do.
Thank you.
Like really awesome job. His question about virtual, that's how you scale. When it comes to sponsorships and such like that, you're going down the right path. You could have some fun. This could turn into a really cool business.
I should actually probably talk a little bit about our sponsors.
That's probably a good idea.
The show does in fact have sponsors. We have a new one who couldn't be here today, unfortunately. River Monster Gaming or Comics. They're in Denellen. Fantastic little store they just opened. Hopefully they'll be presenting maybe next week. No, soon. They've sponsored the show just last night. We also have Bearded Brown Coats, which is another comics and game shop, as well as Vibranium Comics and King Goblin Games, as well as LMS, Leading Marketing Solution. So it's done very well considering all these different businesses around town have sponsored us at first before we even had a show going. And it was still an idea in my head as I was running around town frantically trying to get it all put together.
Awesome, Ryan. From Tyler Online, using D&D or role-playing games as a team builder is an excellent example of gamification of business.
Okay, I didn't mean to talk right after myself. Just throwing it out in the stream. First off, I echo what Josh said. Congratulations. We're really proud of the gains that you've made. You just mentioned your sponsors, all great sponsors, clearly make a lot of sense, in terms of they directly, connect with your target market. But let's talk about how this could expand into non-gaming comic related business entities. How can they take advantage of what happens on the D&D table, and how can they take advantage of the exposure that your show is going to give them? All right.
Yep, go ahead.
Perfect.
So one of the things we're trying to do is build a community here in the Ocala and local area by getting all the people who watch the show to try and interact with the businesses. So you don't even have to be like a comic book store, even in the genre, to really support the business. As for example, Leading Marketing Solutions, who's a marketing company, and they sponsor us. We like people coming in, and then we recommend them out so that we can provide more of a connected community of people. Because really, look at this. This is a big connection zone right here. But not everybody is maybe a business owner or is in the job of marketing. So finding out through our sponsorships locally in the community, you get to learn about other businesses in town, what they offer, and through a fun means of doing it.
Hey, Chris Marshall here again. Some people might have realized this, but I'm not certain everyone has. Ocalian Knights, that represents Ocala, correct?
Yes, it does.
So are you playing in a fictional version of Ocala? What's the representation between Ocala and this game?
So the world that we're crafting, and we'll do a little bit more elaborating on that next week, Wednesday, when we do a Session 0 stream, which for anybody who doesn't know what that is, that's when instead of playing, you build up the world and you build up your characters. The world of Ocala that we're building up it has a lot of basis on the Ocala area. It's modeled after Ocala, Ocalian Knights. So the world of Ocala, which we reside in, is going to have things like Silver Springs, a Denellen, and a Bellevue area, and we're going to try and build out either locations in that or NPCs, which are like people that aren't the players, to interact with. I know, there's a lot of words here. A lot of jargon. But that will interact with in the world and that will, in some way or another, resemble the world that we live in right now, but in a more fantasy context.
Hi, Greg Waslowski, City of Ocala, and recent Ocalian Knight, thanks to Ryan. And I'm sure I can speak for both Sully and myself by thanking Ryan for bringing us into this wacky world and everything. It's been an adventure, and we're only a couple of weeks in. I think one thing that, like, about Dungeons and Dragons these days, about why it's so popular, is everyone's like, virtual, you know, can you do this, can you put on that? What's good about Dungeons and Dragons, it's a non-screen experience, and especially in the time of COVID, there are two big things that make you appreciate. Like, a lot of people love going out into nature now because we were all stuck indoors. And what's great about Dungeons and Dragons is it's two things. You collaboratively storytell with your friends. Like me, Sully, and Ryan have been on this great adventure. I've hung out with them twice. And then also it's the fact that it's a non-screen experience. You still sit around and you have snacks. So it's like getting back to a simpler thing, and I think that's really what's great about it, and hopefully I think it gets reflected in the show itself.
We have a fantastic group dynamic that's going on right now, and hopefully through this we'll be able to build more group dynamics in some of the local game shops around town to really build out that Ocalian Night community.
Josh here again. Help connect the dots between Dungeons and Dragons and business. So I'm going to ask you just a few questions that will help people connect how powerful what you're building is. All right. How many players in the U.S., how many shows are currently going on YouTube, and what are they potentially making on a monthly basis? Just kind of give us some stats.
So there are thousands of D&D related shows on the internet right now. In fact, the largest streaming channel in the world is Critical Role, which is a Dungeons and Dragons platform. They're like on the kind of lower end, people who have like a relatively successful show typically make a couple $1,000s a month through doing these events. And as it's a consistent and repetitively pushed thing, when you do like sponsorships, your name's getting out there. If people are connecting with the players, you're getting that additional goodwill and what is the word I'm looking for? Well, I guess just faith from the people who are presenting it to you. You trust them, so when people recommend your business through it, they know that they can trust your word on it because they like you as people.
Okay, next question. So I'm an old guy, got kids and such like that, and the perception that that I have before meeting you and learning about the business and the opportunity is this is something that people play when they're young and then they one day stop. Talk to us about some business owners or what kind of people play this today on the business side. Who plays this?
It's actually kind of insane the amount of people in Ocala who own businesses who actually play D&D. Like, yeah. When I met David Lugo, who's the DM for the game, the dungeon master, the guy who does everything in the world, he introduced me to a massive community in town of D&D players. Like, we went down to the BizTech, Southern CPA law firm, and HD Print and Marketing firm, and I got to meet all the business owners in there, and all of them play D&D. And people would come in every single week and play D&D there. I mean, the first session I got to play had 9 people, and out of all of those people, every single one of them was a business owner or a higher up partner in a business. It is ridiculous. No. The average age of the people is between 30 and early 40s, is where a huge percentage of the people are. Mm-hmm.
So this is Nathan from Blue Heron CPAs. I casually watch Twitch, which is a streaming service that allows you to watch video games online. Many of those streamers are in the millions of dollars of revenue for ad revenue, and they usually have between 500 to sometimes 50,000 viewers at any point in time. Mm-hmm. Are you guys currently looking at Twitch? Are you guys currently on Twitch? or what is your streaming service?
We have a Twitch account. I, as the executive producer of the show, haven't fully decided whether we're going to use that as our main platform, only because I'm not entirely comfortable with the partnership program that they have there, while I'm more comfortable with the YouTube platform, which is where we're going to be streaming tonight at 7, and where we post our videos.
What time was that again?
It is tonight at 7 p.m.
That's on
Eastern
YouTube?
Standard Time.
That's on YouTube, you said?
It's on YouTube at the
Okay.
Ocalian Nights YouTube channel.
Awesome.
7 o'clock
7
tonight.
o'clock
It'll also
tonight.
be posted up on the Facebook page,
Awesome.
as a link that you guys can go to.
Hi, Ryan. Hi, Ryan. It's Mike Riglo with Pabst Art Ventures. I tuned in on YouTube, and I watched about a half an hour of it. Now, my question is, you have your Dragon Master,
Dungeon Master.
or a Dungeon Master. He sets the stage now for the visuals, right?
Yes. So think
Wait a
of
minute. Let me
Yep,
finish,
go
and
ahead.
then you can elaborate. So he sets the stage, and I noticed that everybody else kind of plays off each other. And he kind of gives out the talking points and the visuals, and then they play off of that. But on each episode, now where does that end, or is that just one episode, and then it's over, or do you continue that theme to the next one, or?
So think of it like a book. You know how you read a book and there's chapters, and it always continues on afterwards? Every session is almost like a chapter, self-contained, or not really self-contained, but it's a continuation of the story. So as you're playing, you're building the story out, and by the time the campaign, which is what the whole game is yet generally centered in, the book, is generally centered around. Once that's over, then that usually is like the ending point of it. But each session builds up to that end point.
Hey Ryan, it's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Good name. My question is, like, thinking through some of the connection points in the community and people that you want to meet. So obviously you're connected to the gaming stores. I know you know about Ocala Comic Con. We don't have a local Renaissance festival, but there's a big one in Gainesville every year in the winter called Hogtown.
I'm pretty sure I'm going to that in 2 weeks to ask for sponsorships.
You're going to Hogtown? Okay. I think about high schools. I think about the library when it comes to storytelling and reading. Who are some other organizations or types of organizations that you want to meet?
I mean, I'd like to meet more organizations in town whose owners are either fans of D&D or just want to kind of connect into that community. Because, I mean, there's so much like product and stuff in the D&D community. I mean, like, art is huge in D&D. There's a group that I'm going to be approaching pretty soon who does like a bunch of figure painting. So you'll notice if you watch that video back, the figures didn't have any color on them. Well, we want to get those colored so that it looks nicer for everybody watching. So there's that kind of stuff. There's like the actual art for characters. There's the tiles and the miniatures themselves, boards. There's so much stuff that can be done for D&D, and where players would probably end up in stores. I mean, if we're thinking about it in like an Ocala sense, right, just the local community, if you've got players who are, or people who are just watching and they see like a sponsorship for this company in town, and they know about it, and then they maybe go into it because, it's gonna happen. They know about it through the game. Maybe they didn't before, because, I mean, for example, the CEP, I didn't know about it until I first came in here 5 years ago. And whenever you talk about it with just like a regular working person out in the community, they have no clue what the CEP is. But through this, regular people who play may find out about your business and may end up needing your services of some sort. And because it's locally based, and that's who our target audience is at the moment, it helps build and foster a good community in town.
Hey Ryan, my name's Tyler. Sorry, I'm not as cool. But on the photo behind you is your game board. Can you explain to us a little bit about some of the things that we're looking at, and in terms of what you're playing with your current campaign in Saga, and then how that might translate if I'm a business owner and I'm trying to get all of my staff on story, right? I want everybody to understand the why and the what in my company. Could I work with you guys to make a campaign to kind of come up with a shared narrative for who we are as a company. Does that translate like that?
If you're referring to like maybe a quest line involving it, because like that's definitely something. There's things called one-shots, or like single adventures, and they can be built around like businesses and maybe what their features are, and maybe you build the quest around what it is they do, and so when the players go on it, it's team building for them, and it's still related to your work. In terms of everything on screen there, I could literally spend an hour explaining everything on screen. So that right there is a miniature, which is the little model that we use for our characters on the board, which is that right there. That's the battle map, and you use it to represent where you are, almost like chess, when you do combat and such. And then there's a bunch of different cases for dice, which, again, we use a lot of those. You can never have one.
Just a quick one. I want to see an EMM headquarters in Ocala, and I want to know if you're live streaming these type of events. The reason, if we ever go to that virtual, the reason I say that is because if I could put my headset on and I can exist in your land but just watch the action, it's almost like watching a movie. Since I can't be in that room, since you've already got the table full, you know what I'm saying? I could still be there and feel it, and the music could be playing in the background, and I could live that moment with you.
That's
because I want to. It's good that we incorporate local business, but that's the small money. That's the easy, quick, now money. The nationwide, worldwide money is what you need to be after. And if you're going to do that, you've got to be careful of adding too much business into these quests, because you want to keep your players excited to want to go on that quest with you. If all we're doing is going down to Toys R Us land every week, we don't want to do that. You know what I'm saying?
I'm going to ask one more question, and then we only have time for the final question after that. I'm sorry, we can ask questions afterwards. But how hard is it, if someone's never played Dungeons and Dragons before, how hard is it for someone to get into it for the first time?
I mean, it is extremely easy. I mean, you can go down to your local game shop right now, pick up an $8 set of dice, and there are so many tutorials on YouTube that take only about 10 minutes to watch and learn, and you could set up a character. And usually, I wouldn't recommend going into DMing, which is where you run the game, but as a player, the DM's job is to make it so that you understand what's going on and you have fun. And the community is so helpful and nice that you will pick it up very quickly with maybe 1 or 2 sessions, and you'll have a great time doing it.
This has been awesome, Ryan. A good learning experience.
Thank you.
So what can we do as a community to help you in your endeavor?
Helping us spread, sharing our videos and channels, and sending us recommendations for businesses that want to get involved and want to sponsor the show, so that we can help push them out to our audience. Because a lot of this is very circular in that it makes everybody else better when we collaborate in these kind of ways. It pushes our audience onto them because they had the goodwill to support us, so then we get our audience to go and support them, and we build a strong community through it. Also, I should probably mention, the filming of it happens inside of my studio for my company, Zeneration Media, which is where we film everything. If you guys ever want to take a look, you just knock on my door and I'll give you a tour.
How about another round of applause?